Well, so back with some more expert analysis. I just thought I'd show you a little bit of behind the scenes of the Club Ladder site with regards to what we can see in terms of vice captain, captains before an actual race. So I've just pulled up this fixture that was actually, I think it was for today. I don't know. Anyway, so you can see the teams, you can see 5v5, you can see the stats, the 5-second power is the first column. That's number 4 for that team there per wrestler. He's not got any data, neither has B8 Alistair, sorry, for the Dirty Pyrites. But yeah, you can plan your race tactics around that information. So for the race footage that you're going to see any minute, we had the power head-to-head data. As you can see there, it's skewed with that dotted red line for the 15-second power. Essentially, Dirty Pyrites on this particular fixture are probably going to win. I don't know what happens because I haven't checked the results, but anyway, so if you wanted to pause the video now, you could have a look at the different power numbers and all this data that you see about the riders that are signed up from their respective rosters. The main columns there often in these races anyway are the 10. The race that you're going to see is the sort of higher power numbers of the 10-20 minute sort of columns. I was actually pointing at the screen there, why you can't see. Anyway, this is our race, the Swedish Zwift Races G1 versus Snow Springs. We on paper are a stronger team. They knew that in their post-race comments. They did sort of say that, but they like us, they just love a race. So we'll get into it. Our race tactics for this, led by Mark Rigby. Our captain was Pete Vale in that orange hat on the left there. You can see on the orange yellowy hat, he goes straight to the front. He's going to be pushing the pace when we get to the intestines. If you're not familiar with this course, you'll know what I mean soon. The wiggly bit. There's typical knob, getting a bit caught out right at the start because not really paying attention. Looking at all the pretty colours and going, oh, look at that. Oh no, the race has started. Quick! So yeah, we're up against 5 guys from the Swedish Zwift racing team. They've got several teams. I think this was G1. I'm not sure how many teams they've got, but they've got quite a few. But always a good race amongst these teams. You know you're going to be in for a good battle, which we were. So on our team we've got myself, Mark, Martin, Tina, the only female in the race, and Pete Vale. And as you saw in the beginning of this video, it sort of focused on, the race focus is, can Pete Vale get his first ladder race victory? Well, you'll have to wait and see. And can we, as his really trusted, reliable support crew, can we dilute any of the subsequent attacks if he tries to get off the front? So we've all got steering on. You can see it sort of wiggling around, everybody hunting the draft. You can see in the bottom right on my screen the red draft gauge from Source for Zwift. At the moment I'm saving 80 odd, 85, 86, 88, 99, 100 something, 100 watts of draft. Well, I was. And anyway, let's focus on Pete. Stop getting distracted by Knob. Pete's off the front. He's pushing. The opponents are wise to his maneuver and close the gap. So you can see in the top right hand corner the mini map You can see why it's called the intestines on this route, or this map. This particular route of the France map is Douce France. So I'm just marshalling the back. Now and again I'll put in a little surge just to see if we can cause any alarm at the back there. But we're not attacking, we're just biding our time and trying to get or give Pete a chance to just slowly move away. I'm using steering here to get back in. You can see I'm cutting the corners. It saves a little bit of distance, if you like, so I can get back in quicker, but nothing really saves time more than being in a draft of a group. There's 10 riders here, so I'm going to have quite a bit of draft rather than trying to steer around on my own. Anyway, the other gauge is the wheel barrel. That shows you how much sort of anaerobic or sprint power I have for so many seconds. It does recharge if you can pedal within your FTP underneath that level. So Pete on the front again, you can see his power. He was pushing 5 watts per kilo there. He's on 4.3, 4.0. He fluctuates, but this guy can sit on around about 4 watts per kilo comfortably, easily, pretty much for 20 odd minutes. He's pushing again. You can see the gap's growing. We're not chasing. If we chase, it'll close the gap. It's up to the Swedish Zwift racers to close the gap, and you'll see that many times during this race that they keep trying to push, and it's up to us to try and cover that so they don't actually make it back to Pete, but also don't, chase back up to him without any of us in tow. Yes, tow. T-O-W. That's how you spell tow in this case. So it's just dangling off the front there, Pete. There's disc wheel. We're all on disc wheels. It's a fairly flat course, this. Apart from the aqueduct, which you will see in, 20 minutes or so. We get to it eventually. Look at that hat. What a magnificent hat. We've got 2 squirrel hats. That's Tina and somebody called Alriksson. So they must have been son of Alrik. Scandinavian legend. So if you are a son, or Alriksson, or a Adolfsson, actually son of Adolf, I'm not sure. Anyway, let's not talk about that. So Martin's going off the front, which he never does. Pete's off the front, off he goes. These guys, I think they're about to try again to close Pete down. And you'll see the numbers spike as they push on. But Pete's now got 8 seconds, which is in danger of growing. Good for us, bad for them. So what are they going to do? And as I say, even though we'll leave the hats on, but metaphorically speaking, hats off to the Swedish Zwift racers for their efforts in just doing that. There you go, the rope-a-dope off DDS biking, off they go. Tina covers, Rosenqvist goes, Martin's covering. I'm covering at 2 watts per kilo, something like that. Mark's coming through. Oh, Knob, come on, push on. Now behind us is a big gap, but it all comes back together because we got quite a fast speed now, and we actually close the gap on Pete. Well, we don't mean to, but the group speed does, because these two come through. They go to the front. They're pushing again, so they're doing the old rope-a-dope, which will have been a tactic that they were talking about. The 3 of us go again to close that gap, because we don't want one of them to get away with Pete, or 2 of them. So at this point, I haven't got the table up of the Sorcerer Zwift window of the how the other riders are feeling, but now that I'm on the front, Knob just puts in a little bit of an effort just to keep the pace high. But I know that my teammate Pete Vale is now recovering, and he's ready to go again. So he had eased off about 30 seconds ago because he knew the group was catching. So this now is Pete Vale going again. and we had our DSs, Patrick and Jake. Jake's the sort of lead or captain of the whole snow club. He was DSing, and he was basically saying to Pete, you need to go again, this is the time to attack. Pete creeps off the front. 2 seconds quickly becomes a bigger gap and a bigger gap and a bigger gap. And the other team, the Swedish guys, are just not chasing at the moment. If we're on the front, I'm going to slow right down. As you can see, we're not putting any effort. If they want to chase, it's up to them. So you can essentially block the other team. So there's 3 of us on the front at the moment. Even Mark's just sitting in there as well. Me and Martin, and then Alriksson and DDS biking. Then one of them's going again, but Martin's quick to cover. Oh, slippery customer there, the old steering. They're pushing again. They've got to try this. And that's why it made the race really... Well, it was bloody hard, to be honest with you. But it was good that they were doing this. Otherwise, they would have just let Pete go. But they had... Well, yeah, there's one of my cats. Maybe he disagrees, but you can just see Pete there in the distance going over that rise. And the gap does get down to 5 seconds there, I think. But Pete's not sprinting away. He's not panicking. He can, very easily hold that pace that he's doing at the moment and recover as if he was just sitting on the couch. But he's just picking it up again now. And I think... Does it come back together, or do we... I think that they were hoping for us to come to the front and push on, but he drops the pace off that Swedish guy there. And Pete gets a chance to build his gap again. So snapping the elastic. And that's... is that race over? Well, you'll have to wait and see. But whilst I've got your attention, I thought I'd read you a joke. Is it appropriate? Well, it's all right. No, it's not a joke really, but I did have some tricky news, sad news after 7 years of medical training. A good friend of mine has been struck off after one, can you believe this, one minor indiscretion. He slept with one of his patients, right? And he can no longer do the job that he loves. What all that bloody time, training and money. I mean, a really genuinely nice guy and a brilliant vet. But anyway, that's what happens. Right, get back to the race. You can see it all kicking off again. Look, Nob's even doing some work. Proof that Nob did some work. Gap comes right down to 3 seconds there. So Adolfsson is flagging there. I'm trying not to go on the front, but Pete just there. He's within touching distance. I tell you what, he's almost getting draft off Pete. In fact, do we close it? Why am I looking behind? I can't remember. It's like I wasn't involved in this race, but I was, and I am. I'm there. That's me with the hat, the magnificent Cossack hat with some sort of wind-up key on the front. So it paces off again. Pete Vale just goes, yeah, all right. I'm off again, lads. Always full of happiness, and he's dead chipper, hoping that his kids will recognise his brilliance, but they just go, yeah, whatever, Dad. And you go, look at what your dad's doing, kids. Look at that. That's him off in the distance. See ya. We'll call him Dot Vale. Dot, yeah, like on the horizon. Oh, right, I think. Yeah, very good. So here we are. Oh, I've got a draft power up. Do you know what that means? No. All right, okay. So it's 30 seconds of a draft power up, increasing the draft effect. So do I use it at some point? I think when we get near these purple flowers. Are they vineyards? Probably are. So yeah, Pete's increased the gap again. 10 seconds almost. They're attacking again. What a surprise. We've got to go with them. Martin's covering, I'm covering, Tina again. So this sort of racing, thankfully, because the pace in between these efforts was rather low, it meant that we could recover and actually repeat these efforts. So basically, whatever they're doing, we're having to mirror. And you can see one guy almost getting off the front, but he's, fair play to him, he is actually knackered. And we do catch back up again. And I think all they're trying to do is break the elastic from us to get into Pete's draft and cause him some problems to see if they can, like a tractor beam, bring him back in. But it it's not working yet. Yeah, I tell you what, mind, I'm getting a bit bored of me talking, so I might stick on a bit of music and you can just watch it for a bit. All right. Oh, you want more, dear? Right, okay, so... I should have got more wine. Anyway. So we're meandering, as you can see in the top right-hand corner. We're heading towards what, for many folk, in this particular route or this map, is where races start going a little bit mad. What are you doing at the front, Knob? Get back! No knobs on the front. I beg your pardon. As you can see, the gap, whilst the music was playing, the gap from to Pete, rather, is now 21 seconds. He's still pushing it. What he was aiming to do is trying to get up and over the viaduct. Viaduct? Aqueduct? You silly boy. Up and over the aqueduct before the opposition had a chance to close the gap on him up the aqueduct climb itself. So you saw at the beginning that these guys, some of them have a decent sprint on them, but they so they're in that respect a danger to Pete, because Pete, with respect, hasn't got a huge sprint on him. He has been improving, mind. He has been improving, but if he were to work on that, he would probably lower his big diesel engine a bit. But he is an endurance athlete, does mad sort of long fell runs and stuff like that of like hundreds of miles. Absolute mad bastard. Oh, don't say that. So we're going up the aqueduct. We're expecting it all to kick off. It doesn't. We're covering the front just in case they try and leapfrog us. We ain't pushing hard. I've been up this, as I'm sure you have, many times where it's sprinting, because it is also a KOM segment, one of the shortest in game, 40 or 30 seconds or something, I don't know. But as you can see, no one's really wanting to chase. Son of Adolf, you can't say that. Son of Adolf comes through, makes it look like he was about to attack, but it doesn't. Tina, Martin, in that instance, that was Mr. Rigby, captain. He put in a little squirt there to cover that any risk of a gap being closed, but the gap now is almost 30 seconds to Pete, so he has essentially got himself away. Still 12.6 kilometers to go, so quite a long distance yet to cover, but now, as I'm sure you're all aware, it is a fairly flat race, apart from this downhill segment coming up, downhill, down and uphill, up and downhill. I don't know what you're talking about, but yeah, -5 here, so Pete's able to build and just sit at around 3.8, 3.7, something like that, and maintain the gap. We didn't think these guys were going to be able to close, but that doesn't mean we're not still monitoring and keeping an eye on things. We've got, not that we're getting points or anything, but we have got a sprint segment coming soon, and we know that we get another power up. As you can see there, it's the Pavé sprint. Oh, my watts per kilo is just hiding it on the left hand side. So some of us are using power ups. We've got Martin on the front. Don't know why you're doing that, but he eases up, and it does look like he's doing daft stuff. He isn't. We're just very mindful of the riders coming over the top. But what they were trying to do is attack, get us to counter, and our speeds would then take us over the top, and in effect close the gap on Pete even more. It's down to 18 seconds now, so you can see those little bursts or surges are causing the gap to close. But you know, we're in constant communication with Pete, and we're monitoring the gap. He's obviously can see the same thing that we're seeing. A guy goes over the top again, Alriksson, son of Alrik, and you know, it's one of those races where actually these 9 riders, including myself, are essentially doing what do you call it, microbursts. Not all the time, but it's happening. But we're not doing anything that gets anybody DQ'd. We're not sort of doing sticky watts where you do a surge in power, stop pedaling, but your power stays high, which is obviously a little bit suspicious. As soon as you stop pedaling, your power should drop. Your speed won't. Well, obviously it will if you go uphill or on the flat. But you know, you surge downhill, your speed will stay high, if not increase, especially if you go super tucking. Look at all those sunflowers. Triffids. So yeah, we're moseying on along. We've got the upper hand. One of our DSs, Patrick, he could see a lot of data. He's got all sorts of screens, Source with Zwift screens that shows who's shattered and everything. But people are going again. Rigby, Tina, and Martin all covering. If 3 of us get away with one of them, I'm not gonna attack. I'm just marshalling the back. But obviously, I almost get caught out here. But there's a guy behind me as well, Adolfson, who wonder what his dad was like. Was close to getting dropped there. But we're attacking again. Guy tries to get Rosenquist. Bravo, hats off to you, sir. But we close the gap. Tina did brilliantly. Thank God we had Tina, because there was a few times where I just couldn't be bothered. I was knackered and there wasn't any chance of me catching them up. The gap is, as you can see, down to 12. What we're conscious of is that they can't quite see Pete yet. They know the gap's 13 seconds, but they can't actually see him. And if they could see him, that certainly makes him a bigger carrot. Somebody say carrot? But anyway, I don't know whether I can be bothered to talk for 9.6 kilometers, 9.5 kilometers. But anyway, what are you watching here? What are you actually seeing? What are you paying attention to? You can see I've got a draft power up. Let's have some thumbs up. It's a lovely countryside, isn't it? Looks like you're in Northumberland. I've got a draft power, did I say? I mean an aero power up. So I know what's coming at the end. Oh, you can just see Pete there. One of them's going again. Mark's covering. I'm not covering. Nah. I go now. Let's see if we can put the squeeze on to those behind. I know Martin's going to be alright because he's got a good sprint and he can close the gap quick. Are any of them going to drop? No, we're all still together. You can see all the gaps are still zeros on the right hand side. Soon I do think we will see a gap open up to one of the riders in the next 10 minutes or so, I think. Off the back, can't remember who that is, but you'll see soon enough. So if you've got skid steering and you're doing a time trial on this course, you will definitely benefit because you can cut the distance. But let's not talk about steering. That's in some of Dr. Nobb's videos. Yes, it does sound like a James Bond villain, but he isn't. He is a proven scientific researcher with robust methods and analysis. Plenty of good hypotheses. What? So when will I use my aero? Well, I'm going to save it for the end. We're all still together. I know Tina, Martin and myself and Mark, we've got decent sprints. With respect, Mark's more of a T-tier steady effort, but if he needs to, can sprint. But certainly myself, Martin and Tina are the strongest sprinters. So we're tasked with constantly covering down these little things, little surging and stuff. Look at me, I've got steering. Yay! Just thwarted another counter attack. Sorry, just thwarted that attack as another counter attack, and they keep rolling over us. It's an interesting technique, and it would have paid off if they were able to attack harder, probably more suddenly, and maintain it. But they were doing like 7 to 10 watts per kilo, which is obviously strong, but then dropping off too quick, and essentially easing up. But then again, they also had us to contend with, who were for once I would say we were switched on. But having said that, I'm not paying attention, and one's gone again. I cover again, and so long as I'm towing Martin there a bit, because if I fade, then at least he can slingshot through me. Tina, I can see, you just see a squirrel hat there. She's close behind as well, doing a grand job. Mark as well. There's 4 of us, 2 of them. Are we starting to drop anybody? Still no. Still 5 people versus 4. Obviously we're the 4 because we've got Pete, who's off ahead. Still, no, can't see him around this bend. On the mini-map you can just make him out, but he's about 15 seconds ahead now. Just plodding out the 3.8 watts per kilo. Adolfson is off the front again, being chased and harassed and pestered by the indomitable Tina from Norway. So, I've just remembered, Sweden versus Norway. And you got a bit of Germany thrown in there, and then us Brits. Hooray! Get back in the draft there, Nob. What are you doing? There you go. So we're thinking at the moment, if Tina and Adolfson get away, then that'll be we've got Pete up front, and then us battling out for second or third with Adolfson, and then the rest of us. So it's really up to the Swedish races to close this gap. Tina's not chasing. Obviously not chasing, I mean not chasing Pete. If Adolfson chases, then Tina will chase him. And that's the way it works, as you know. So I'm just putting a little effort in here just to see what's going on. See if we can close the gap a little bit, move everybody back together. I thought maybe a bit of reinforcements maybe for Tina could help if in the event that guy does attack again. But you can see at the back, Schenk and DDS Biking are all putting in a squirt again. So we're going to have to go. Martin's going, Rigby's going, Tina's going again. She's been able to recover a little bit, so she can put on another squirt and get onto that guy's wheel. We're all doing it. We're all fighting. And as I say, this is what kind of makes these races so much fun. And you, as I say, you just got to make sure that you're paying attention, because when it starts off 5v5, essentially one team is trying to get one of the other teammates to drop. So we're looking at Pete now. I was able to just move around. Couldn't remember who I was, but there he was, off the front, basking in a likely victory. Or does he? Well, you'll have to wait and see. So again, the Swedish Zwift races are languishing at the back. I think this is where, in fact it is, you can see Adolfson now, unfortunately. That is a very tough luck there, dude, because as we found out after the race, he has got cramp and he cannot pedal, so he is essentially dropped. We could see him off the back. He is pedaling, but he's not pushing anything. You can see the whole lot of us are sort of waiting. What do we do? Do we hold off? But it's up to them if he can get back on. But he's dead. Poor guy. I know that feeling. We've probably all been there. That's just down to well, for me, if I'm cramping, it's because I've not had enough salts, so electrolytes, which I've talked about in another video, which is really exciting. I normally have obviously lots of water leading up to the race, but I'll have a bottle with just table salt in, a couple of teaspoons or just 1 teaspoon, and lemon juice and lime juice, natural electrolytes. And they attack again. We've got to go. We've got to keep covering because we want Pete to get his victory. Because if they attack and these surges, and now I remember this attack here, I was really struggling to go again. But I knew that if I didn't go, it would let my teammates down. So Martin's coming. You can see him pushing. I think he comes. Oh, there you go. Comes past. He's got a few in tow, and they're attacking again. So it's a well-coordinated thing. Martin's. The fact that Martin came through so quick was we were probably, we were prepared rather for their counter-attack. So one of them had attacked originally or initially. We all then attack and then ease off, but then they've got 2 or 3 riders behind us, and they come through again. They're doing it again now, or trying to, but they sort of roll through. But that's kind of how you do it, and that's what I was saying about before, is that if they can attack with one rider and then the 3 of us or 4 of us counter them, then we're providing draft for the rest of their team to come through over the top of us. And if they attacked hard, then there's a very good chance that at least one of them could get away, because we're still recovering from that surge. They had the right idea, they just couldn't quite pull it off. Maybe I've certainly been in races where teams have done that, to other teams or to us, and it's painful, and it's a great tactic, but when it works very well. So that's something to bear in mind. I'll maybe do another video on that if that moment arises, about attacking and trying to just, if you can drop one rider from a team of 5, then it's full on advantage to you, because you've weakened their team, and then you've got one extra rider, and to keep attacking and put in the surges to try and drop another one, and you just start whittling them down, don't you? Yes, you do. See. Anyway, at the lighthouse, that must mean we're near the end, so that's 3.1 kilometers to go, which again, look at that attack there, guy going again, Schenk. I mean, they're doing a really good job, but at this point now, when the next lot of riders come back up, that is when they should attack hard, hence why Tina's come through on the off chance that they might be trying to counter, and so she's got the speed to go with them if they do. But they're not attacking, so they're, what have I just said? They're not attacking. They are, and at this point here we're thinking, oh, hey, it could be 3 against 1, let's try and push, but we don't need to. I mean, Pete's got 33 seconds gap. He's got the victory, he's got the win in the bag, hopefully. Or has he? Dun dun dun. Anyway, you can see at the back, sorry, not Adolfsson, but Schenk and Rosenqvist are at the back, and or they were, and now I'm at the back. From here, it's probably best that I stay on the back, but I'm a bit prone to sort of not paying attention and kind of getting a bit caught out. We've all gone faster. Oh, so I've sped up the footage, obviously, I forgot. Well, that'll help speed things up, obviously. And so we can get to the end quicker. So more surging, more counters. Now that we've moved, does Alriksson come over the top? Is he strong enough? He's, everybody's hanging on here. We're all tired, all these surges, and we've got to keep covering them. Essentially, in order for them to win the race, in terms of points, the first place is gone. But in order to win the race, they need to try and get second, third. They've got to try and fill the top, certainly the podium. But Pete's almost there. I literally just read what was on the screen there. So, go on, Peterson, go on! Look at how fast his legs are going. I think it slows back down. Go on, Pete, you're almost there, sunshine. I can't obviously keep watching him because there's a race going on behind. So coming up to the sprint, what happens? Well, positioning is key. It's got 700 metres left. I know how to sprint. I've been taught in terms of positioning. I help teach it during the snowshoe rides. All the leaders do. But essentially, start your sprint either at the back or near it. Use the draft. And it's up to me to decide when to sprint. Now, I probably, in hindsight, should have gone now, but I waited a bit longer for 400 metres. Here we go. I'm building up, and 3, 2, 1, off I go. Aero. Everybody else reacts, but it's too late. I've already gone through. Martin's coming with me. I know Tina's coming with me. I know Mark will try and come with us. But everybody's reacting, but I've already hit over 12 watts per kilo. Martin hit 13 something, Tina hit 12 or 12 plus, finish line just around the corner. Peter got first, Nob got second, Martin gets third I think, and Tina fourth, so we maxed out top 4 places with Mark getting 9th, just getting picked on the line by all the other sprinters. What a brilliant race it was to be a part of, thank you everybody. But there you can see the points, so 10 points for Mark, 10 points for Pete, 9 for myself, and it ended up being Swedish Swift races 19 and Snow Springs on 36. So we looked at the race focus. Can Pete Vale get his first ladder race victory, and can we dilute the attacks? Yes he can, and yes we did. So there you go. Big thanks to I've done it again, Swedish Zwift Racers for a great battle, and thanks to our resident DSs. Cheers guys, hopefully see you again soon.